Pour ce nouvel épisode de Gatemeri, j'ai la joie d'accueillir Moses Twahirwa, le créateur de la marque de vêtements Moshions. Cette marque est née au Rwanda. D'ailleurs, j'ai fait mon premier shooting photo avec des habits 100% Moshions que vous verrez sur le site internet de Gatemeri qui sortira très bientôt. La particularité de cet épisode est que c'est le tout premier que je fais en anglais, car Moses est plus à l'aise en anglais qu'en français. Donc j'ai hâte d'avoir vos retours pour savoir si ce format vous convient. Dans cet épisode, Moses nous partage les coulisses de sa vie de designer et comment il a fait de Motion une marque représentée dans le monde, notamment à la Milan Fashion Week. Il nous parle également de sa famille et de ce qui a forgé l'homme qu'il est aujourd'hui. On a aussi parlé de la vision de la masculinité et d'amour. J'ai beaucoup aimé mon échange avec Moses, qui fait preuve de beaucoup d'authenticité et de sensibilité. Mais je ne vous en dis pas plus et laisse place à ma conversation avec Moses Twahirwa. Hi Moses.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for hosting me here in your workshop in Kigali.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. It's our pleasure.
So you're a fashion designer and we know how the African fashion industry is growing. What is your vision about that?
I think the fashion in Africa or the word luxury itself has a different meaning, sometimes also depending really where it's applied and the people and the whole environment. But if I relate to it in Africa, on the continent, I think what I think is really that there is tangible practices on what can be as slow and as thoughtful and as really embedded into the artfulness of itself in fashion. So I think that is the luxury for me. That is the rareness, the slowness, and also something that you don't find just everywhere. So that's the luxury. It's not associated with the pricing or which brand is making it, but the whole identity as an African, how garments or fashion is being produced and by who, the people. So it's very good, but also I think it needs to be embraced by different creatives and by different either companies or people understanding what it is to be luxurious, or what it is also to be luxurious on the continent, that it doesn't have any significant kind of terms in the existing world.
Okay, I see. What is the main challenges you're facing in this industry?
The challenge is an educational path that has started for the people, either the audience or other designers themselves, to really understand what is it that you're serving and why you're doing it. So because there is so much of the mass what has been there as fashion, just as a garment you pick from the rack. So people understanding that actually designing is not about just the garments is a path that needs to be educational, that people need to be aware of the art and how the art is served, how the art is manifested into clothing, know about the colors, the fibers, and the work, the handwork, and everything to understand. So this is one of the things. Then another thing is the skills, the skills gap channel in I would say the supply chain needs from tailors to designers to assistants to communication and everything to have it more, as a top notch for either the luxury we're talking about. So the mark and the skills is still also a challenge, but it's on the progress.
Cool. As a creative person, what is your process to release a new collection?
Yeah, I think that's where it gets to be really interesting for every creative as well, the creative process. But for me, I'll say I start brainstorming about the idea, what I want to communicate, the ideas, and then decide to focus on one. For instance, if I want to communicate the drapery, the fluidity, and I wanted to see or then I go into research. The second step is that I do a research, because for me, most of the creations are really influenced by the cultural aesthetics, and this comes from the colors, the patterns, the texture, the fibers. So I do the research first of all for me to establish the shapes, or what I can call the silhouettes.
When you say you are doing the research, what do you do?
So I'll tell you how I do the research. I'll do the imagery research to start with, just to have all the images that associate with my thinking in terms of the theme that I want to achieve. If I say Rwandan traditional wear, or the Gabi shows, the recent collection, I was working on expressing the fluidity and the inner self. So I was working also to associate it with the fluidity in the clothing that I found in the East Africa. So I did the research on imagery and the visuals that are around some of the pictures I took in Ethiopia, Maasai wear, Moshions, then have like a dump of like 300 pictures. Then from there, I developed the mood board, which is the mood board will come on accordance of like expressing my mood, maybe through a paint or not, and then expressing the colors that I think will have the collection, and the fibers, the textile. And then I moved to what I call manipulations, which I call like vintage manipulations. So I take some of the vintage shapes that I want to associate with, that I think will bring out my collection how I want. For instance, I wanted to fuse the Italian sortira with the drapery, or all tailored kind of garments with the drapery. So I'll take different drapes that I have and then put them on top of the suit, and then take pictures, then from there I start sketching.
Oh, okay, I see.
So sketching goes again in sketching the shapes, the silhouette that I obtain through manipulations, and either manipulations can also be done by collages. I do a lot of collages to see the shapes I'm thinking. Then after sketching, I start prototyping. So prototyping is when I work with the pre-fabric. I'll call it muslin before moving to the final fabric. Okay. And then I see, is the shape that I was imagining, the shape that I manipulated and sketched, is it really going to be possible on a human body? Sure. So I try the fittings on a human body to check the shapes and the movement and everything. From there, I start choosing fabrics. I see, okay, this is the shape. I think it will look good in this kind of fabrics. But then in the stages, in the process, I would say I go deep into developing now, identifying fibers and fabrics that we work, the colors, do the trials with botanic colors to have the right aspect of the color. Then from there, you develop, then you do another fitting when you have found the fabric. Then after you think of design always comes as an aspect, because everything we talked about was like on a blank.
Oh wait, this is not the part you're designing.
Like design, that was basic. That's like fashion. It's the making, basically.
Okay.
Then the design comes more in the aesthetics. What the color do I put in embroideries? So design, and that's where most of my cultural aesthetics get to be manifested in the design part. Okay. It'd be like, oh, this is the shape. I want the shoulder to be dropped, this arm to be like this. Now, what is the design? Which color would it have? And then I look in my color palette, because I have a color palette that I say this year I'm going to work with this color, magenta, viva magenta, indigo blue, cream, and then see, that's the part I'm talking about, the design. I see the colors, then from the colors I develop manipulations, which can be embroidery, print, embossing, and different techniques in manipulations that will complement the design and the whole theme, the wording or the branding as well. So everything comes on that design aspect. Then after that, you have a ready outfit.
Yes, clothes to wear and ready to slay in. You started Motion in 2015, and since then the brand has grown very quickly. You are renowned for dressing up global celebrities and leaders. How did you make that happen?
Yeah, I would say, it sounds like a short time, but for me, I think
I know.
It has been a long time, because before. When you're, as well before, because 2015 is when I kind of officially started, but I've been rooting and doing some small things on my own. But I would say, to answer your question, that when I really started, I had already figured what my signature is going to look like, and it exists, and it was relatable. So relatable is to mean that I was working with something that was not strange. So it's like the aesthetics of in the Rwandan culture, the collective motifs that were used in the houses, the motifs that are interpreted in the wicker work and different manipulations in the Rwandan artisanal, and traditional artisans, but it was interpreted now differently on the clothing. Sure. So, but then it was something that I think the audience, especially the Rwandan audience, were like, "Oh my God, we can see something, to wear that we can relate to."
Of course.
And it took so much time in working with those manipulations. We were mostly made of like embroideries and the printings and the embossing. So we're like, it was just relatable. So that was like a boost of like having my creation spotted by this profile.
Yes. And actually, I think your main value is reviving the Rwandan tradition through your collection, because what is great is that it's traditional, but not too much, which means that we can relate even if you're not from Rwanda,
Thank you. I'm really glad you resonate with it in that way, because that was the whole purpose. And that's why I really wanted to establish. I was like, if I'm designing in this era past now, I will have the design, because it started from mainly being stronger in the design aspect, prints and these motifs that I could relate to. Now, even in the drapery, even in the shape itself, without even a color or a print, I want to feel the same. I want to feel the same traditional aesthetics fused with what we got when the post-colonial before. And I was like, I really want to find an in-between kind of shape silhouette. I don't want to adopt the Western culture or couture immediately, but I find a way,
like a balance
in the drapery. Sure. That was it, and I think it's giving it that way to now the feedbacks we had from people who try on, our clients and everyone. So it's something that I really was so much championing for, that also took so much time for me to realize.
Yes.
Yeah.
As you said, it took a time to make people familiar with your brand. Do you have a specific moment when you tell yourself, okay, this is working, I'm in the right path? Is there like a specific moment? I don't know.
I think every moment for me when I present a collection, I kind of feel that type of feeling, but I also get to be discouraged a lot. I won't say like it's always positive.
Sure.
But me also as an artist, I get my personal ups and downs. I'm like, okay, I feel this so much, but how is probably the audience going to react? How are they going to resonate with it? So I'm not ready, but then I feel like I'm really devoted to let it out, because I think this is what comes in the heart of every artist, is like what you want to give, but also feel peaceful when you don't give it. So you're like, I'm on a full risk on whatever comes with it. But I won't say it's always positive, but I'll say it's positive from the heart that is giving, that is implementing. So from last year, November, when I launched the Imanwe, because it was a deep dive after 2 years that I was going on the research, talked with you on the fibers and back and forth, different people that was going involved in the collection, to really present every single thing that I was resonating with in terms of fashion and really design. So I established my own fashion and my own design at the same time, which is really a very hard thing to have a signature, as even through different with different creatives or fashion designers. You see that there's so much in design, but then fashion is not probably is common or is not something as a signature. So
I'm sorry, I'm just a bit confused. Just to make it clear for me and for the audience, could you remind us the difference between fashion and design?
Yeah, fashion is the making. I'll say fashion is having making a shape. Basically, a shape that is your own, that you have an inspiration from, that you manipulated. You be like, this is the shape I want because there is something, and you'll be able to make the shape.
Okay.
Basically a croquis of a garment. But then design is, then I consider it more of an embellishment.
Yes.
When you start thinking the colors,
okay,
the pattern, the print, is it going to,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's really the design. But then fashion, you have to make the fashion first. The shape.
And then
this is going
the
to
structure,
be
actually.
the structure.
The structure, and then you put your colors.
Yes, your colors and
embellish.
Manipulations and then all the embellishment you want.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I'm learning every day.
We all learn it. We are all learning every day.
Now I want to talk about your last collection, the one which made you known internationally with the Milan Fashion Week.
Yes.
In which you convey the message of male vulnerability. Why that topic?
Thank you for, sparkling that. I think I was, the 2 years I was reflecting so much in my whole environment, either personal or through my friends where I live. I mean, especially in Rwanda or coming from the continent, because I've traveled, I was lucky to get to travel different countries. And every time I meet other male, I get to realize also there was something lacking in the manhood beyond just being a man.
Sure.
Then you see that, the way we were raised, especially, but I think it's also worldwide. Especially
it's worldwide. Like men
are
this viral masculinity. Like you are
they,
the one who are providing.
Exactly. So all that there's different kind of expressions that we grew up with that we think by itself being a man has to come with different other expectations beyond being a human first, and then you realize that people or men grow up with this kind of pressure because you're a man. You have to probably be a provider, have everything figured out. Power hero and everything is good, but it doesn't come to be associated with the gender as much. So I was like took this initiative on deconstructing what is a traditional manhood, but more into like deep dive into humanity. A human who bleed, who have the right to have different emotions, who have the right to do what they feel like without any kind of obligations from the society, from the families, from the religions, because those are all different barriers that we grow up with. If you grow up in a certain religion and a certain family, they'd be like, oh no, we don't do this. Whenever you have a different kind of type of feeling or an ambition you want to do, you'll be feeling this kind of barriers because either you're a man or no, even sometimes with women you cannot go beyond because there is this kind of taboos in our lives. And then you see that many people, especially now, are struggling with, deconstructing these taboos from families, from cultures. Then I associated it with this kind of drapery, see how our ancestors used to live kind of freely, even with what they wear. And so sometimes I was making jokes. I was like, it's actually these constructed suits that make us also like, oh, I'm a man. I can, we're just boxed in this box of being a man beyond what we can actually put on the table. And then when you try to ask or talk to people beyond that you're a man, you cannot know who you are.
Sure.
You just, I'm a man, I'm black, I'm this, I'm African, then what? Who are you deep down? And every experience that makes you, it should be only unique to you because there's no other person on earth that is like you.
Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing this. But how has it been received by people?
I would say more people, especially the youth and actually the messages for them. So I think it's very positive that they also take this as their own and to realize that actually it's something needed. No, so my voice, I used fashion to kind of voice it, but I think also different people now start to use different voices in art, in paintings, in music and everything. And it's not only really for men, it's for every human.
Everyone.
What you're saying is very important because this is beyond your own person. If you don't deal with your own emotion, this will impact the person you are living with. Both men and women have to take their own responsibilities of their emotions so together we can live a better life.
Definitely. I think it can be a better life as long as we really allow ourselves the place of, vulnerability without judgment, without extra judgment through where we live and everything that makes us. We use also the symbol of masks, and mask has different kind of emotions, because some people are just carrying masks of who they are. I'm this, sometimes. I'm just this. And then you find yourself carrying that mask the whole of your life. So sometimes I say only probably artists can really be devoted to like push these kind of boundaries, because sometimes it's only someone who take the responsibility of not living with a mask, but it takes someone's ambitions to dig down, to go where in the to know what makes them.
Yes.
To know myself, what really makes me, and put in value every single thing that I feel as a human. Beyond that, I'm a man. Beyond that, I'm a woman. Beyond that, I'm a director general. Beyond that, I'm a police, whatever. Then all these come after humanity. There is something beyond when we talk about love, when we talk about real existence. A real existence should be real beyond what we carry and what we, keep pushing on each other of who they are. But it's not really what they are, what we are.
Sure.
But it's also not everyone willing to identify or to go deep.
Yes.
To knowing what they are.
Yes. It's a choice. Either you're ready to do it or not.
Yeah.
And how did you manage to better know yourself?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. But what I did is that I took a step back. I could have seen that there is different masks, different things. But I think I took a deep breath on understanding or allowing my feelings to flourish. So everything that I feel, I took a step on like never or not suffocating everything that I was feeling. If I feel like I really want to go to the office today, or I feel like I want to just space for myself. And the thing that helped me a lot is that I allowed so much of space to myself. I mean, I reduced to like go to very social event, being very social, and I was spending so much time with me,
energy,
myself,
and, time, yeah.
and my like to find out about my energies, or if I go hang out with friends, I make sure I spare so much time to be just on my own. So then I think it's when you're finding this time to be on your own and speaking to your own that you get to realize some of the things that really makes you beyond the audience. There's these people you find, they're really good at speaking or being with people, and they can never, I can't be out alone. I can't be, and I think this is the crucial time that also, so if fewer people are really willing to take on, because everyone wants a company of this, of something. So no one will ever think of like even having the time alone.
Yeah.
It's really important that you need to, it's only the only moment that you can speak to yourself alone, spending your time alone, and to accept the whole vulnerability you may feel, and then speak to yourself.
By spending time alone, what do you do?
I do everything. So I can do sport. I find activities on just doing on my own. I do sport. I do writing. Evenings, I write things, or I make videos, or I record myself. I do everything that, or I talk to myself in a mirror, or I just go, like many things. I think maybe it may depend on kind of different personalities. On like people need to learn on how speaking to themselves beyond, your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, like they're you alone, because it's only when you realize what you need that you're not going to take whatever is coming to you, but in the end, when people start claiming that they've been, I feel that I was used in this, it's just because we were not ready. It's because when someone comes and say this, you agree because you don't know what actually fulfill you as a person. Sure. So the path of learning to speak to oneself, the path of learning to be on oneself, give us the authority of like setting boundaries and having the DNA and the values and the vision of what we really want to be for ourselves, for our families, for the society. Maybe you find out that, for instance, about that the family or my close friends are not necessarily the one we share the blood. I consider the family the people I meet and resonate with my feelings, because that's where I find the freedom. I want people that I can express myself to, and then I have to know how do I express myself, in what circumstance, in what circumstances I'm allowed, or I find myself really courage to speak. Yeah. So I don't find myself speaking just superficial. I want to speak
like truly,
the inside of me, and I think that's the right speaking. If it's the time for speeches and the official, yes, I'll do. But I want to spare much time in speaking
and still have the freedom.
Yes,
of course.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
No, thank you for all these. Actually,
you.
It's something very, very important.
I keep telling to friends, like, spending time alone and setting your own boundaries by learning to say no is life-saving.
Yes, exactly.
So when you were young, did you have a dream job? I don't know if you wanted to be fashion designer, actually.
No.
I don't think so, right?
Definitely. I didn't even know.
Okay.
I didn't know that fashion design exists. Yeah, I think, when I was a kid, also with the background where I grew up from Nyamasheke, it's a little village. I didn't really know anything about fashion, honestly, but it's only now that I look back in my background and see some practices that I was doing. I was like, weaving the banana leaves and doing some nice home decorations. I was attached to beauty, to be honest. I can see that the beauty was part of my essence. I love beauty. I love to dress well on Sundays. I was like the most chic in the Sunday school, and the most chic. Yes, minimal, but my clothes were always well ironed, well clean. I was like, in the choir where I was singing, but I never dreamt of being a designer, but I was more wanted to be like a journalist. I think it was my dream. Yeah.
What kind of kid were you? What were the feeling of the Minimoses?
Yeah, I think the Minimoses by then, my feelings were really surrounded by simplicity and beauty at the same time. I would say so. I was more close to my sisters. My younger sister and my elder sister, but so much with my younger sister, because they even used to say that we are twins. So I was mostly I was very much of a church boy, and when I grew up in the choir, so I was like, not very, very among the first in class, but I was always like maybe 5th, 7th, But then in my childhood, I really liked I don't know how they call that in English, but I was the most stubborn student. They were always, asking me to bring parents, and because I was like, breaking stuff every time. I was the most dérangeur.
Dérangeur.
Yes. So I was the
troublemaker.
The troublemaker. and then I really used to like working on small stuff like that I regarded as aesthetics. I remember that I designed my young sister and we get baptized at the same time, and I was giving the hard time the seamstresses in the neighborhood, like how they have to make it. I didn't even know how to draw, but I could tell them my idea that I have in my mind. I could see it, what I wanted. Then in the end, of course, they made it, but I also find myself like playing a role. I was a very playful, but I was really into like knowing languages. My favorite was like to speak French and English, so that make me stand out. And then I think it's from there I always wanted to be like, I want to be a journalist so I can be speaking French and English and on TV. So those were my dream. But I was really playful and was very close to my mom and aunts. That's when I started learning the embroideries they were making and the crochet knit and everything. So I was more interested in what can be not like masculine activities as a kid. But
your dad was a pastor.
Yes.
How this has influenced the person you are today?
Yeah, I think being grown also in a very Christian family has helped me a lot. I think, as we were saying, part of digging deep into oneself involves also the whole experience we've been having in our lifetime. And I think every single moment of our life, every single minute is really an experience that shapes us to be who we get to be in the end, the present or the future. So the much time I spend growing up in this family, with my dad being a pastor, my mom being religious, has helped me a lot to know, to even have the guts of digging deep in myself, because I have this culture of like not just going with whatever is going around, you know. So that has helped me a lot, even in my career, in growing up, to have the boundaries. You know, I don't just go with whatever is there. I have to see if it's resonating with me.
You, yeah, sure.
So I think beyond the church, it gave me the feeling of exploring my inner feelings beyond, you know, knowing Jesus Christ as a savior and the God that exists in the Bible, but also knowing that I am also a human that's created in God's image. So that makes me a mini God, I would say. That I don't have to look like others, that I don't necessarily have to do like what others do.
Yeah, I mean, you know your singularity.
Like me as a unique person, but also to know what really makes me unique, as if I was born, everyone is born unique, but also takes time to know that you are actually born unique and own it. Your uniqueness, and own your uniqueness, and know where your uniqueness is and how to use it.
Know your strengths.
So
and your
yes, exactly. So I think that's my dad and my Christianity helped me to also have a discipline, to just a self-discipline and a self-devotion. It has helped me a lot, and I thank this. I really thank my parents, because I got it from them, to know like, no, this is you, this is not you. Then also growing more as a human, not limited just to the church, to know that love is, you know, is really beyond the church, is beyond everything. Love is, it's an art form of humanity. If you really want to be a human, you should, you know, love, but also love starting from
yourself.
Myself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And I've seen also that you've done like studies in technical construction. I was like,
yeah,
what the heck? What happened?
Yeah, I know. What happened? This is just part of, you know, when you're struggling, or when you're growing up and you have different experiences, but it really not easy to make a choice at a certain point, because with the background, with everyone, influences that are around, you'll be like, you want to do this, you want to do this, or maybe
to please,
not this.
to please people as well.
Yeah, to please the people,
parents,
but also maybe that you're not aware of what you should do. This where also took them. So I went in civil engineering, started also from my secondary school by doing construction, because I think it was what available, and I didn't know, probably I didn't have that much guidance into, if I did the deep dive way before, I probably know, but I didn't have this as an experience or things to look up to. And I was going with what is good at the market, I'll say. So that's why I did it, and find myself also doing civil engineering undergraduate, because most of my friends were doing it, and also family was like, oh, this is actually, you know, you are a man, you should, you know, this what is giving
it's
enough
like a part
money,
of
and
variety,
exactly,
like, you know, construction,
exactly, you need to be an engineer, and it's a trend, but in the end, I think it's good that I realized that it's actually not fulfilling. It's not probably my mission on this earth is not that. Yeah. And then started to take a step back.
And how did you end up in the fashion industry?
Like when I came to Kigali, the city started to see, to know that fashion exists, to know different kind of aspect of beauty, how it's interpreted, and did the different researches on knowing designers as well, on knowing different artists. I was like, actually, you know, I feel like I want to do something else. You know, I don't feel like I really want to be an engineer. I don't want to do construction. Then started practicing some of the things, started even by modeling because I was interested in the beauty. I was really, my whole instinct was pushing to be in the beauty, but I wasn't probably not sure what. Then started to dig down what I did in my childhood and knowing the designers and how they do it, how you become a designer. I was like, actually, this is something that I feel related to. Then started practicing a little by finding the tailors to make my own clothes, and then expand from me to my classmates then it gets to grow from that, from just my audience. Then it was giving me so much hope, like I'm devoted to do it. And I could actually find time to do that when I was still at school. So it was so much passion that was driving me to that, but it was because I could see the exposure. There was an exposure. I could think, I could feel, I could relate to other people who were doing it and see that it exists. So by me having the information that it exists, they couldn't make me chill without, doing it or practicing. So it was much more of that.
Okay. It's by practicing that you've seen the potential.
Possible. It's meant for me.
So cool.
In this podcast, I used to mention the concept of sweet spots, which is a spot where you feel good at. So today, with all the things you're doing, do you feel you're in your sweet spot?
Yeah, I think, yes, I am in my sweet spot. You say my sweet spot. I think, yes, maybe not fully, but I am on the path. I can say that this is really the path. I can say that I found my mission to do on this earth, like what to serve. I cannot serve anything else than this. So this is, I think, a big, achievement for me to be able to say it, to say that I've found myself doing this, so no matter what the challenges, because I've gone through them and the pain, I've gone through it and everything, I've gone through it to develop what I can be doing today. So I feel super 100% devoted to be in this career and to channel my own voice as an artist, because I am a designer, but not like every other designer. So I think it is a challenge, but it is what I was working towards too. And then all the practices that I was doing, embedding in this and going in the core, fabric, print, employees and everything, that fulfills me, But then as an artist, I get to be having my ups and downs, but I feel like this is actually the life. Life is not just easy, but you need to be on the safe side of like, even if it's hard, but is it really worth my sacrifices, my energy? Am I serving my right mission? So I say to myself that I'm serving the right mission, because no matter how hard and make it even harder when I go to finding my own core and how I want to sell my products and who and to who and by who, the makers and everything. I say it's super challenging, but I cannot see myself doing something else.
Okay, I see.
So now let me dive in the bunch of questions I call in French, le tamis de Gatemeri. What is your biggest fear? And how do you overcome it?
Well, I think I've had different fears according to the life. I think every hour, sometimes with the life, some things raise up. It's not like I have this kind of fear, but I probably had, I think I'm a little bit of fearless, but I also had different things I doubt on whenever I'm going to do something. One? So I think I'm always, my biggest fear is really to lose, is to fail.
To fail? Okay.
Yeah, it's if I want to do something, I don't want to fail. I want to go all the way. It kills me or whatever. I just don't want to fail at it. I don't want to be called a failure.
But if you fail, what do you think will happen to you?
I think if I fail, I die.
Really? Oh my God. but I think
if I fail, it's the end of my life, because
I'm sure that in your past, there are failures which turn out to be successes, no?
So some of the things, yes, I failed, but also that not that deep. So I that's when we're staying to the sweet spot. If you like take so much time to also with how the time run, you'll be like, if I find this core, I will either stick to it and I don't want to fail it. So everything you work around is to sustain it.
Okay.
So it's to sustain that thing you have found that you take time really to find. So everything you may fail, the little attributes to it that supporting it, fail to get the fabric, fail to have an employee, whatever, but failing to myself is more what I'm talking about. To like my own mission, if I want to be to do this, I do it, even if there is no even probably the money or the company existing, because for me it's not to fail the company, it's not to fail the business, it's to fail myself.
Okay.
So that's my worst fear. And every time I do something that really fulfill my heart, that speak to my heart. I don't compromise, you know, and I'd be like, maybe I'll tell you today or I tell you tomorrow, but you know, if I decide to something, I'll definitely embark on it.
Yeah, I see. What is the lesson that took you the longest time to learn?
The lesson of like accepting the loss. Yeah.
And you're still learning it.
Yes, I'm still learning because it can be super devastating for me if I embark myself on, like, as I was saying, like to decide to do something and then I lose a little particle on what I have as a vision that's sustaining, supporting the vision. I'll be like, no, I cannot cope. I be super down when I lose something that's really meaningful to me.
What is the best advice you've received from someone?
To pursue what I feel.
Right. What is your greatest pride?
My greatest pride is being myself.
I love that. What are the value you value the most?
Humanity and love. It guides everything. If you do something with love, you'll not be using me. You'll do it. But it's really great to receive love, because some people think they are giving love and then it's not real love because they don't know what love is, because they don't love themselves first.
Oh, that's so true.
So if you don't love yourself, you're not gonna love someone else. So if to say love is not just love that is existing, it's real more than what is love, you know. It's love, like deep,
yes,
deep into oneself,
knowing
deep,
what it is and
knowing why you're doing something and why, and you know,
Okay. What is the meaning of success for you?
I think the most being successful in life is really doing something that you know why you're doing it. That you have reasons to do it for. And those reasons can be really, really deep down resonating with you as a human. So if you want to be successful, I will not consider it. I will not number it in terms of how much money you earn and everything. I will number it on like what you are serving on earth and why. And this, if it's something really core speaking to you as a human, as a person, you know, if it's providing, if it's resonating or answering different questions that you have as a person, and you're contributing to it by reciprocating the love.
Is there a particular book you think it would be interesting for us to read?
The Bible.
Okay. Okay, Moses.
I think if you read the Bible, I've read the Bible almost to finish it, and I read the Bible as how you read the book, honestly. And then I have my own, not my own, but I resonated as a human. So I think the whole knowledge and the whole everything that we see in the earth is through that. If you read the Bible, you can read any other books, and I think it teaches love from oneself, and love keeps coming back in every other book, but also read the different books like personal to related to what I'm looking at or the research I'm doing. But I was saying that the most powerful book that I found everything in is basically the Bible.
We touched the end of this amazing conversation. Thank you. Do you have something you want to add? A question I didn't ask you?
Thank you, but I think we've talked about almost everything, so I don't think anything is.
Did you like the interview?
I liked it.
Really?
I think it was very fluid and very organic.
Cool. Thank you so much, Moses.
Thank you,
It was
Desa.
lovely.
It was really lovely
Yes.
having this
Yes.
conversation.
Desa is my second name, just because people know Edgar. That's all.
Oh, Angel. Yes.
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 Thank
Now
you.
they know.
Now they know.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you
Bye.
so much. Bye.